These are all faces you don't hear from very much because they're busy working on behind the scenes. I just want to tell a little story about each one. So I'll start with Ray. So while I can be thought of as the project manager of the Decent Espresso machine, Ray is the inventor. Ray is the reason we have this hardware, we have this firmware, the reason that it works. So he and I worked together to build the first machine that didn't really work right. Ben appeared on the scene on Home Barista, doing a bunch of fluid simulations showing how water wasn't flowing well, and he worked amazing contributions, and so I had to hire him. And he worked remotely from Canada initially and now in Australia. Ray is, well, he was in Seattle. Now you're a bit north of Seattle. And at one point, Ray said, essentially, I'm going to have a breakdown if I don't get some help. And there's this guy who happens to be between jobs, and I work extremely well with him. So please, please, please hire him for just even 3 months, 6 months, anything. Miles has been here now for a bit more than that. Not exactly temporary, and that's just fine because the two of them work really well together. And it was great to use this deadline, let's put it for what it is, deadline to say, right, we've got to actually put a machine in front of you that works, that pulls everything together. So this is pretty exciting because this is the first day that actually everything has been assembled. You can hear the pumps actually as they will sound. It's doing temperature accurate stuff. The pressures are working. That's a real machine. Lights are working thanks to Miles. That's the instruction I wanted to give. And now inside Bengal.
I thought I'd start with Ray sort of explaining about the design philosophy behind Decent Espresso in general. So yeah, what makes us different to what came before, I guess?
So I guess it boils down to two things. One, at the time we were asking a lot of people what a coffee machine should do, and looking around and doing research, and I found so many, highly regarded people that completely disagreed with each other. My conclusion was we were never going to do the right thing if we just picked someone and did what they asked us to do. So the idea was to do something that could do whatever you needed it to do. We're going to give you some sort of lab that could just do whatever you wanted. The base foundational concepts was we are not going to make up our minds how you should make coffee. We are going to give you a tool that you can use to make coffee. We make paintbrushes. We don't give you, art. The next thing is well, I guess I come from kind of a first principles physics background, and if I want the temperature in the coffee puck to be stable, then I measure the temperature in the coffee puck as best I can. I came to the realization that there were machines out there that basically are running open loop. They have hot water. The hot water comes out of a thing that's hot at some temperature. It might be a well-defined temperature, probably wasn't. It would cool down randomly. It would go into a group head that would be changing temperature, and then you would make a shot. And if it was bad, you wouldn't know why. And if it was good, you couldn't make a shot straight after that tasted as good. Like, there was just no consistency there. So the idea was you measure what you care about, you try and make the machine actively get back to that place, do what you've asked it to do. And if it can't quite do the right thing, just do the same thing every time. Because with consistency, our users can pick up the slack. Those are the base foundational concepts behind the DE1 and now the Bengal.
Again, because we had such a good base with the DE1, trying to do a massive leap wasn't going to happen. We've already solved a lot of the world's problems. So
First world problems.
Sure, first world problems. So then it became, well, what do people don't like about the DE1? There's a lot of comments on the noise that it made. So we really want to get the pumps sounding better, and the look of the machine we also wanted to improve, and I think we've done a pretty decent job making it look a bit more kitchen friendly, and you can also put on an island in a kitchen. It looks quite unique, I think. The other one was...
This is Ben's design, by the way. The reason it's called Bengal is because it's Ben's angles.
So yeah, I mean, we did try to find other designs that sort of worked, but it seemed to keep coming back to this sort of style. So I'm pretty happy with how it's come out personally. I particularly like this, but yeah, I find this very sculptural, and when you walk around in a place like this that's really well lit, you don't really see it moving as much, but in a place where you've only got a few lights, it really sparkles, I think. The other thing we wanted to do was put a scale inside it. Everyone uses scales. They measure the output. Everything's always measuring the input into the puck, so a scale gives you the actual output, what's in your cup. So yeah, so that's the other big upgrade. And then there's just everything got reworked. I'm not sure how many people have seen the inside of the DE1 because I didn't get to do my presentation yesterday. The manifold now is completely different. The way it works, the speed that it works. So before you'd have lag measuring the temperature.
Do you want to explain what a manifold is?
This is a manifold. But yeah, so I mean, it's a manifold because there's a lot of things in the one place. So this is the pressure sensor in here. You're measuring the temperature of the waters as they come in and the mixed temperature that comes out. You've got all the valves that control where the flow goes within the machine. Then you've also got this PCB here that basically takes all the different sensor data and things like that and puts it into a couple of pins. So you don't have a lot of cables running back to the main PCB, which I haven't got to turn around, but that's that big one at the back here. Oh, this is also the safety valve, so the pressure relief valve if we go too high. So that's the manifolds. That got completely redesigned for Bengal. The new group head. So we've moved to stainless steel design. We don't have the brass parts in there. Now there's a very large disc heater. And what that means is that there's no hot spot within the group. It's now even over the whole surface. So as the water flows through, it's not going to find these cold spots and hot spots as it travels through. And I know that doesn't sound like much, but we have 3 temperature probes in our group head. We're measuring it in 3 different spots.
We have no idea what the temperature is.
And sometimes they're 10 degrees difference. So how important this little part is, it's where the coffee goes, it's where the interaction with the water and everything we do before. So this got fully redesigned for Bengal. Every part, we're moving to USB-C now, but what's more important is it has data. So the tablet and the machine can talk via a wire, so we don't have Bluetooth. We still have Bluetooth, but we don't have to use it. Even other things like people were complaining about having to put their hand around the back of the machine to lift the water tank. So we put the little bit at the front. So now you don't have to move your hand around. I'll show you with this one. So yeah, if you want to refill your water tank, you just pull it out and pour water in. You don't have to lift up this at all. So this is only there if you want to remove the tank completely.
You want to just say something about the tank too?
Yeah, the tank is, we're using a stainless steel tank now with an enamel coating. So this is very much like your pots and pans and mugs. It's a glazed like pottery, so it's completely food safe. It's not like your non-stick coatings that can be food safe under the right temperatures and things.
And much less fragile, much less heavy.
Yeah. The other thing we've done is put a lid inside the machine. So there's it's a PTFE, like a Teflon lid. And the point of it is that when you put the tank in, it gets to a certain point and it lifts up and it seals. So now it's actually a sealed lid. So I know a lot of people, have creepy crawlies and bugs and things. It's now got a lid built in. This is kind of what we've done with Bengal through the entire machine. Every little part we've re-looked at and we've just tried to improve it, heavily involved in what people comment on, so feedback from the people. The community's been amazing at telling us what we've done wrong. So, so it's great because now we know what we need to fix. We've got a cup warmer on top, so it's currently warming up as we speak.
And it has a thermostat on it, so you can choose the warmth of your cup. This right here, I've got a little piece of fabric on, that's actually warm. And what we found, you can see I've got a whole stack of cups here. If you only put one cup in, only the bottom will get warm. If you stack them up but you don't put a piece of fabric on, it won't warm it because the air is just going by. But if you do this, you can have a whole stack. You can literally have 30 cups right here, all at the temperature you want. So if you want 40-degree cups, you can have 40-degree cups. Yeah. That's new.
And even simple things like we have feet that you can now screw in and out to level your machine.
Lights, obviously, so you can also see your shot. Right now it's going through different color cycles. You can choose the color.
Yep.
So you can have it match to your kitchen or just do white, but you can also see your shot directly.
The steam wand is quite different. In the DE1, there's a plastic tube that runs through this, and what that does is it just makes this doesn't get super hot. But the ball joint still gets in contact with the steam, and the tip is still in contact with steam. So what ends up happening is these two get very hot, 120 degrees sort of thing, and then they heat up the rest anyway. And what you'll find is because this part gets very hot, that's in the milk, when you take that out of the milk jug, the milk dries very quickly and it goes very hard. Yep. So what we've changed now is the PTFE tube that runs all the way through. It also goes through the ball joint. So this now stays much cooler. It's about 60 degrees rather than 100 and something. And because this is now plastic as well, it doesn't heat up as much. So when you actually clean the steam wand, it's so much easier.
And that's PPS, right?
It's all PPS, yeah.
Which is extremely good for food safety.
Yeah, it's it's almost a polished like finish. Nothing really. There's no porosity to it
I
either.
also want to show this ball joint here has just extreme movement.
Yeah, we've doubled the movement of the ball joint.
And when Ben keeps saying we, he actually means I.
It was fun redesigning this whole thing. It was good. And yeah, and it just also, because it's now flush with the machine, I think that looks quite a bit nicer than the big nut that you have on the DE1. And yeah, it is, the DE1 can move up and down 15 degrees. This one's about 25-ish. So you're getting quite a bit more movement. And I know it doesn't sound like that's important, but like I do what I call ghost steaming, where I just put the steam one in the milk jug and I press go and I walk away. So if I'm doing small volume of milk, you really need it to get as low as possible. Higher volume, you want to be able to go up just a little bit more. So having that extra range just allows you to do those little things a lot easier. With the DE1, I used to have to put something underneath the milk jug. You don't have to do that now.
So the only downside is he's sloped the group head. So those of you who like doing Instagram photos of your lattes sitting on top of the group head glass, you can't do that anymore. It also means that you're no longer going to be shattering your group head glass and then needing to replace it.
Someone will make an adapter for it.
Yeah, I'm sure. 3D print. Sorry, as long as I don't break the glass.
It's quite nice that it actually tilts toward you.
Yeah.
And it just happens to also dissuade you from putting your cup there.
Yeah. And the other thing I probably should talk a bit more in detail is the scale. So this whole thing is now a built-in scale. It's hardwired to the machine. Hardwiring it does allow us to do a lot more things. These guys have been going crazy on the design of this, so it's much higher frequency than you get from any other built-in scale you get. I think they work at like 10 hertz.
The other ones do.
Other ones do. What are you're not sure probably what you're getting yet, but
Yeah, well, I mean, we can go up to about 1800 hertz, but
Yeah.
we won't be using all of that.
no. But it just means that like if you're trying to measure flow rates and things, all of a sudden,
Or, for example, channeling and sprays.
yeah,
Those are things we can see now at those rates.
Compensating for vibration with
Yeah.
people on a wooden floor, stuff like that.
Do you want to mention the little amplifier boards you have on the scale?
They're actually hidden inside the legs. We
Yeah,
actually
so-
pre-amplify and then send that all the way around to the back. So
that-
And the accelerometer?
no,
No?
nope,
Okay.
no, we're not mentioning the accelerometer.
Okay.
But yeah, so these two parts here are the scale. So there's two load cells, one on each side, and then this will sit on top, and it won't interact with this at all. So you can just pour water straight through, and it's not going to come up in the measurements. So this is the new sound. It's very loud. No, sorry, I'm just hitting it off. There we go. So you can hear how different that is. That's currently flowing, it's doing 9 bar, so that's your shot, really. So no more chunkas. If we can get this just right. Yeah. So it's a bit different to what the DE1 is.
And it just gets a little quieter or louder depending on the pressure. That's about
Yeah.
as loud as it gets.
So yeah. And then I'll do a somewhat profiled shot as well. So this is going to go to 9 bar, down to 0, and then back up, just so you can hear what it sounds like when you're doing low pressure shots as well. So yeah, the DE1 when doing this would be like dunk, 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 dunk.
Ga-da-da-gunk.
Yeah. So it gets very quiet. Yeah, we do have a speaker in the system now, so we can tell you, hey, your shot's done.
And I'm sure someone's going to be complaining that I can't tell where it is in the shot anymore when I'm in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're probably going to have a DE1 emulation mode where it goes.
So do you want to talk a bit about what the pump's actually doing now?
Before with the DE1, we use like pulse density modulation, which is basically we have an AC signal, we can fire on a half cycle, and we either fire or we don't fire. So the only way we can fire slower is to skip cycles. With the new one, we can actually fire at almost whatever frequency we like, and we can control the pulse width. So we actually can control the amount of current in the coil in the pump. And we have extreme control over that, and we also can measure a whole lot of things. We can actually, basically that pump is wired. We know everything about that pump on every single pulse that it fires. This gives us the ability to control the flow and the pressure, and also opens up possibility in the future of doing some neat things like emulating a spring and stuff like that. The idea was to have a high update rate so that you don't get nothing happening and then a loud thump and then nothing happening and a powerful bang, and get pressure waves through your puck or whatever else, which for all we know make things better. But anyway, we can now do anything. We can do the old modulation scheme if you want to, but we can also run at 60 or 120 hertz, and we can also then control the width of each pulse, and we can actually measure how that pulse affected the pump, and we can control future pulses.
So some benefits here. One is smooth, right? Because we're now at a very, very high frequency, very small movements. And so the kind of pulsiness that you see, especially, for example, with hot water, should just be gone.
Oh, here to show hot water. So it's no longer spittering and splattering and going everywhere. It's
very smooth.
But what I wanted to show, and I think this will work, is, do I have to stop there? Is if I do espresso, we should get peak flow rate.
Yeah, pretty close to it, yeah. So we don't have...
Oh, actually, we don't have the scale on there.
Yeah.
So this is 12.5 mils per second we're getting out of it. Okay. And you also just check out how even that is. And that's peak noise, right?
Yeah, that's as loud as it's going to get.
That's as loud as it'll ever get. Yeah.
But I think extremely smooth, low flow rates, the highest flow rates we can get. Something else that's quite interesting, especially for Americans, is the huge bank of capacitors that you see there. Allow quite high flow rates. Anyone from Japan, also, you've been suffering under 200 volts?
This board is quite big compared to the DE1. I probably haven't seen the DE1, but we store a lot of energy, and in fact we treat the pump like a flywheel, where we fire the pulse to fire the pump, and then we actually break the pump faster than it would break normally so that we can fire the pump faster than it was designed to be fired. But we also take that energy and then we add it to the voltage for the next cycle. So the first cycle is at your normal AC voltage, and then every cycle after that is at a voltage that we can choose that's much higher. And that also works pretty well in the EU now, where we have wind power and things like that, so the voltage can vary quite a bit during the day, and that messes with the DE1 a little bit because it honestly doesn't know how powerful the pump is. And in this case, we can actually control the voltage at the pump and compensate for voltage droop, and we can actually run the pumps at their maximum voltage.
Worldwide. So it won't matter what your voltage is, everyone will see the same performance.
If you're getting 100 volts in Japan, we will run your pump at closer to 200 volts.
The first thing you might notice, anyone who's had a board fail and had to replace it, your life was now much, much easier because it's just a back panel and you can get in. Each
one of these boards is completely self-contained, and they all talk digitally to each other. This is just the 6-pin connector. So everything is talking to everything else through these 6-pin connectors, and literally if we ever need to make any changes in the future, or if we make some huge changes or whatever else, all we do is we support the 6-pin bus, and you can come in, pull the old thing out, unplug a cable, put the new thing in, and eventually we're going to have most of these cables go away as we replace them all with the same 6-pin connector. So yeah, we have this charge USB, this is like a USB charging port and a data port. This one controls the LED strips in the back and the front. We have another one that controls the scale, and as we incrementally improve things or whatever else, you can just buy the replacement board and slot it in yourself. And we do plan to give people enough information to be able to talk to this bus and make their own mods and whatever else. So
I think a key reason people have loved the DE1 is that the DE1 1.0 users and everyone afterwards has been able to self-upgrade. This is now almost 10 years old. We want this to be able to upgrade for another 10 years as well. I don't want you to be disappointed on the DE1. There are many things that are on the DE1 that are going to get upgraded. We have, for example, on this machine right here, you can see the SteamWand tip from Bengal, and that's going to be soon available. We will probably, once we sell out of this ball joint, we're going to switch to the SteamWand. The manifold, if your machine ever fails, your DE1 fails,
you get one of these.
It's going to go get the Bengal manifold.
We're doing a water level sensor, which is basically completely custom, which actually measures the flow using time of flight. So we fire a pulse and then it bounces to the bottom again. And you think, well, sure, you can get sensors that do that already, but finding a food safe water level sensor that we could make perfectly backward compatible with the DE1 so that people who are unhappy with their water level sensors could just swap it out. It turned out to be very hard because I literally have this much space at the top of the tube. And the way we implemented it is I use a cell phone microphone and a cell phone speaker for waterproof cell phones as the sensors. And the whole point of it is it's actually backward compatible with the DE1. Another thing that's worth pointing out is that this little connector over here carries power as well. So there's a chance in the future, for example, that if we were changing pumps or valves or whatever else, they would actually just still be driven on this little 6-pin connector. And it does get routed to the bottom of the machine. You can have external peripherals, and if people are making their own crazy extensions and whatever else, they can literally just plug them into the back of the machine. And also, probably you can plug your laptop in and see what's going on inside there. So we're trying to be very open where we can and how we can.
Every intention as well for the software that works on the D1 and Bengal to remain the same software. No change there. Do you want to mention the mirror?
The shot mirror? Or?
Yeah, the shot mirror, because that's got a bunch of changes too.
Oh, it's got some, but yeah, like the shot mirror is back, but it's a standalone piece now. It's angled a bit different, so you should be able to see the
but it's metal, it's not plastic.
Yeah, it's a hard.
And he's also designed it so that should you ever scratch it, you can see two little fine screws there.
Screws.
You can remove it.
And the whole mirror just drops out and you can put a new one in. And the other thing that you might notice is this guy here. That is a front port that has a temperature probe, so we can measure the temperature of the milk as you steam, and then you can stop the milk, to stop the steam when it gets to the right temperature. That probe at the front is
It's digital.
Yeah.
It can have up to 255 devices connected to it.
Yeah.
We don't know what they will be, but we figured we'd leave our options open.
But yeah, I really want to design like an infrared one, so you don't have to worry about cleaning it. Ray's got his own ideas, I'm sure, on that idea.
Sure.
But
So we've got something that's low tech that we know will work to stop your steam when you want to. So even better, go steaming. We also think it's future proof.
Yeah. So that's the thing. We'll be upgrading all these little accessories, I guess, that you can then.
And then tablets larger. We're moving from 8-inch tablets to 11-inch tablets. And the skins in general, Streamline being one of them, are starting to use smaller fonts and have a design that's meant for larger screens, just like cell phones getting bigger, tablets getting bigger. And we're moving to Samsung. So this is a Samsung A9 Plus tablet. I think that's it for the presentation. Any questions?
I heard you mentioned before that two versions of the Bengal, right? What, higher power and lower power, right?
The Triple XL, which is what you have, right? So that's a 15, 16 amp version.
240.
And that's what we've got, 240. And that's kind of our premium, that's what we want. And it's one price for the whole thing. But should you be in a country that has less power, say Japan, the US, so there'll be a 10 amp version for the UK, and if you're in Hong Kong, that's probably the 10 amp version because we're 13 amps here. If you're
We'll
mobile,
just give you the best we can.
we'll give you the best you can. Or the US will have a 120 volt 7 amp version. The main difference is your steam will be lower powered.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's the same machine. And then in terms of, the cost is US dollar 6,000 converted to other currencies. It's going to come hopefully in two versions, the wood and metal. One of the reasons we're so innovative is because we've got individuals who have individual responsibility. And this is named after Ben. He is the inventor. He has an assistant. I'm the guy who does this. And so it does mean that when Ray is worrying about getting this firmware working, the D1 firmware is not being improved. And that is absolutely the case. I think the only thing I have on Ray's rush list is the first step skip bug. I would say in general, I don't want to do much to the firmware. Complexity increases the likelihood of bugs, and the firmware is really close to bug-free, except for a few things. And we found that adding little things like, can you make this optional, now has these knock-on effects. And so I think probably not going to, the innovations you're going to see in functionality from software are going to be tablet-based and not likely firmware-based. I just want to manage your expectations on that.
We're sort of at the fix the broken bits rather than bringing new features to the D1, the firmware, I mean.
But one of the reasons Bengal's taken so long is because Ray wanted to apply everything he'd learned about how evolution shouldn't happen on the DE1 in terms of like increased complexity. And he's really spent a lot of time breaking complexity into individual small boards so that he can improve, for example, the USB charger, and it won't possibly take everything else down. Is that fair?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying to break the system up into well-defined, encapsulated pieces that all talk to each other using a well-defined protocol, and then all we have to do is support the protocol. We can completely change the hardware, we can completely change the firmware. We just have to support the protocol, and it won't break everything else.
I have no interest, not as Ray, that's why we don't make the DE1 Plus, of making a machine that's less good than we possibly can. So anything that we do on Bengal that's better, and we can also apply it to the DE1, is just going to happen. I'm not going to say, oh, it's cheaper, let it be less good.
I will say that actually there's still a massive overlap in the firmware,
Yeah.
and there's a chance that certain changes that I make on Bengal will end up in the DE1 simply because of that overlap. So
Business-wise, the D1 is absolutely not going away. It's actually just the opposite, which is I'm very aware that there are machines cheaper and more expensive than the D1, and I don't want to make a cheaper machine that compromises. So what we're going to be doing is having a rather aggressive upgrade offer so that we can sell used D1s cheaper. So we can, if people are looking at some of the machines at $1,500 to $2,000, they can consider a factory refurbished D1 instead of the other machine, a new D1 or a Bengal. And that's our product line, and then we just keep it that way. Oh, so the trolley, Ben, you want to address that?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so the legs, because we've got the screws in the bottom of the legs, you can just hard mount the whole machine to a trolley, to a wooden top, or however you want to do it. And then you still have the leveling feature as well with the way we're planning on doing it. So it won't be able to fall off. If you've got RVs, I know some people put these things into their cars and into their motorhomes. So yeah, we can hard mount this to any surface.
The IKEA cart, I don't know if actually, there's not a Bengal, but Alfred, who's on the video there, has been working on the wood top for the IKEA, and it's got 4 little countersunk holes that the feet fit into, so it doesn't move. And then you can also optionally go through and then bolt it in, and then you can't even get it out.
Yes.
So those are your 2 options. But it's not going to be countersunk because this we designed specifically to go this level.
Yeah.
Whereas Bengal,
This one you can see, trying to get
good.
around all the bits would be quite a challenge.
And if anyone wants to ask questions, more questions about the hardware or discuss it, I'll be here. You
We'll
can-
hang around. Yeah.
we also, I'll show you when you do the tour, the Bengal suitcase. So it is a bit larger. It has 2 handles on both sides, so 2 people can lift it if they want to. What are we in weight compared to V1
It's about 26 kilo total ship weight.
versus
I can't remember, I think they're like 20 kilos.
23,
Yeah,
21?
21 to 26, something like that. Yeah, so yeah, I had to take a few parts out because I actually bought one from Australia to here. So I had to take a few bits out and put in my other suitcase to get this on the plane to be under the 23 kilos. But it is possible to put it on a plane as well and be under the 23 kilo limit. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for your presentation.